Today is a good day to talk about wildlife, wild camping, and why it's becoming so popular. And all of a sudden, you hear people have just died because they've decided to do what they're not supposed to do. Go camping and then they freeze to death, wild camping with no one there to help them. And it was only discovered a few months later or days later. That happened to a YouTuber about 6 months ago. So the reality is that wild camping is not something you should take lightly. The biggest problem is that people just underestimate wildlife and the dangers of the outdoors. And when you think about it, recently there have been a few developments that also encourages people to do what they shouldn't be doing. First of all, you have the effect of the outdoor boys. That's a YouTube channel, a family. They do outdoor things, and they're so popular because people actually enjoy watching them. And especially during the pandemic, a lot of people living in flats or apartments, they're like, oh, I need to get out. I can't take this anymore. Stay at home. I want to be free. Freedom. And freedom they got. So during that time, van lifers were like, yes, I'm living the life. And they got a lot of views. People just watching them thinking, I wish I was you. You make me mad and jealous. I want to lead this lifestyle. And other people who couldn't afford the van life would get in their car and go to places like Dartmoor. And then they'll camp there and they just, they breathe. And that is one of the reasons we're talking about this. Two developments. The first one was that in 1985, there was a law that came into place that national parks, Dartmoor, people could camp, recreational activities is just allowed. And the idea is this, that if it's a recreational activity, even if the land is privately owned, the Dartmoor area, you're allowed to have recreational camping, wild camping basically. You can go there and then walk around, stay overnight in your tent, clean up, and then move on. Then in 2023, some rich guy said, look, there is a reason I bought this land, this national park, and it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't compute. People say, if this is a national park, why would you sell it to a private owner? It doesn't make sense. But anyway, they were saying, look, this is not, people camping and walking around is not recreational activity, and we want you to stop it. So the first court said yes. And people said, oh, that doesn't make sense. So, and then the people appealed. It went to the Supreme Court. And recently, a few days ago, the Supreme Court said, hey, rich people, nope. This is recreational activity. People walking in the wild on these land. You're allowed, you cannot prevent that. And a lot of people started dancing, thinking, ooh, look at that. This is great. We can now go and do wild camping like the outdoor boys. Well, hold your horses. Don't go too far. The problem is that the law itself, the idea of public land, is not something unusual. For example, in Honduras, they also have lands where the closer to a river, if you're closer, I don't know how many meters, 50 or 100 meters to the river, is public land. Even if you own the entrance, you cannot put a fence to it. The same thing on beaches. You cannot put a fence even if you own the land just adjacent to the beach, about 100 meters or 150 meters in. So, and recently, Costa Rica has been going around now destroying all these fences that rich people have built around the beaches that were supposed to be public lands. So basically, a lot of things were going where the local municipality were just dishing out permits so that people can just fence things in, which was illegal. Anyway, the point here is that what Dartmoor is doing is not something new. A lot of countries have the similar laws, and the idea is that if you're a taxpayer, they don't want basically a few people owning the vast majority of the land, which they should allow more people to be able to enjoy it, and that's fine. Now, back to the story of wild camping and solo camping and the effect of people like the outdoor boys. Recently, outdoor boys said, I can't take this success anymore. it's a great life, but I want to take a back seat. And people are, you're going to take a back seat? What's going on? Oh, another saw an opportunity. Oh, if Outdoor Boys is leaving the scene, then I could go and camp in Dartmoor and have a great time and then become YouTube famous like these guys. And I think that brings us to the question of the biggest problem that people have, or people underestimate with the effect of wild camping. The problem is, first of all, a lot of people, when you watch people, for example, you watch the Tour de France, and then all these professional riders go up the Alps at amazing speed. You look at them and you think, I can do that too. And you get in your bike and you try to do the same. Of course, you're out of shape. You start breathing, and then you take the bus back home, and you get your friend to go and pick up the bike where you left it. So the problem is, a lot of people think, yeah, open wild camping is easy. Solo camping, I can do that too. It doesn't matter if it rains or if it's snowing, if it's hot, I can do that. And the problem is, most of them cannot. Some people can't even understand, cannot understand what it means to be in the wild. For example, if it rains and the wind, your tent can be blown away. Even if you have a good tent, it could just go. And what else do you do? Everything's wet. Everything's soaking wet. The simple idea that if you've seen someone and they, out of nothing, a piece of wood and things like that, they're able to make fire, and you're thinking, ooh, I could do that. No, you can't. Because a lot of the people, you go there, you're thinking, oh, when I get there, I'll find a piece of wood and I build it. I'll make fire. And you get there, everything's soaking wet. Now you've got no fire. What they don't tell you is that some of these people, experience come into play. They bring their wood, and everything is dried in a dry container, well packed, so that even when it rains, they can still make fire. Or they even just bring a lighter, and that's it, they make fire. It doesn't matter. They're well prepared. That's the point. If you can't stand the sight of cockroach in your living room, if it freaks you out, you don't want to go camping. For example, mosquitoes, ticks, bugs, they love you when you come because they can feed on you and eat you. The amazing thing, I could remember once we went to the tour, and then they say, okay, birding tour. We thought, okay, that was good. Let's go and do that. You take your camera and you snap, click, click, click. But it was in the middle of nowhere, and apparently there was this really rare bird that you can see there. By the time we got back, we were covered in mosquito bites. It was itching all over your back. Even you had clothing on, they still eat you through that. We had to go to the pharmacy to get some sort of cream to ease the itch. It was absolutely, for 2 or 3 days, it was awful. Yes. And that was us being there for like 2-3 hours, and that was it. Can you imagine trying to camp out there? No, you don't want to imagine that. And then another thing that a lot of people, when they look at the Outdoor Boys, and you're thinking, oh, look at that. He's able to build this, and he's able to build that, and he says this is safe here. But then experience tells you, most people who experience wild campers would say camping would do something. They can locate, they basically can sense this place is not safe. There's something off about this place. When you're not experienced, you're just oblivious to all the problems around you, and before you know it, you're dead. And some people, I've also said, they look at the sky, they think, oh, the rain's coming, a storm's coming, so it's not a good place to camp here. Or they do, basically they're well prepared when they go out. But if you just think it's just a matter of just getting up, buying a few gears and doing that, it's not going to work. And that is why people get lost, or some people go on a trail and then it starts to rain, and then a mudslide, they're washed away, or they freeze to death. I think recently a woman got lost and they were searching for her, and she fell off side of a cliff or something, and then she survived, thank goodness. But not everyone could say the same. So the same thing when you see people go to safaris. And you think, oh, wild camping. No, most of the camps are well away from wild animals, and they're well protected. You've got guards with guns. Yes, exactly. You see, you go to the Serengeti. It's no, you can't just go and pitch your tent. This is not Dartmoor. This is some serious stuff. And another thing is that in some places, for example, it says in America, over 250 people die every year from going into the wild, hiking and all that every year. And some of these people are, well, most of them are not experienced, and that's why they underestimate. Someone said they went to the Grand Canyon and they started to walk around, and they forgot that in some cases, in some parts of the Grand Canyon, it's very hot, and other parts it's very cold. And if you hike during the day, you probably wouldn't make it, even if you have enough water. It is just so hot. So just knowing the difference that you don't hike during the day, you hike at night or late in the evening. And another thing is that when you hike at night, the risk of bitten by, venomous snake is higher because visibility is lower. You get the point. And then other things is that you need to avoid trails where there are bears in the area, and people are saying, well, if you have a spray, I'll buy a bear spray, and that's it. No, the more experienced people will tell you, don't do it. If don't even go near there, because you're not as fast as you think you are. And those animals, those wildlife, when they come at you, you could spray, but then by the time the spray takes effect, you'll be dead. So it's just the reality that you need to be aware of. For example, some of the data that says that about 10 people have died in a 17-year period in the US, and mostly grizzly bears or others have encountered mountain goats. When I heard about a mountain goat, I wouldn't think that you get headbutt, but I wouldn't think they would be that dangerous. But then it just goes to show you just never know. Of course, these are rare, where you encounter wildlife that would want to eat you, but it's still just something that you need to be aware of. So when you think about it, I think a lot of people find it fascinating. It's appealing. It's just the same thing with van lifers. When the van lifers will go to a place and they say, oh, this is nice, they show you the glamorous side of it. But then people have said, look, it can be dangerous where you get attacked at night, and some people in their van life have a gun. You're thinking, okay, what's that all about? Yes, because humans, it's not even to defend themselves from wildlife, it's to defend themselves from other lunatics. And you don't really want to encounter people like that. So when you think about all this, you're thinking, is it really worth it? I would say, put it this way, it's simple. Don't do it, because most of the time you don't know what you're doing. You lack experience. You don't know the dangers, and even some experienced people have been caught off guard and they never make it. So just go to the local camping site next to your house, buy a cheap tent, and just go and try it out. And then you can, oh yeah, I went camping this weekend, and people tell you where. Yeah, you pay for the entrance. It's like £30 or $30. Anyway, the point is that if you want to experience it in a more safer environment, just go to a local camping site where at least you have the toilet, you can camp there, you have other people there, you're not alone, and just see how, well, you might have bugs, but it's not the same intensity of wild camping. So all that to say that yes, the outdoor boys, the effect it has on people is that more people are doing outdoor things, and now that Dartmoor National Park is now free again for camping, more people will be doing it. But then the problem is that they would leave common sense at home, and then they get into trouble, and then people have to come and save them. That is not a good thing.